Hello everyone, good evening, Charlotte here from Enriching Environments and welcome to Top Tip Tuesday on Tuesday the 26th of January. Goodness, I lost the date there for a moment. And this evening we are going to be talking about when our children hit and bite. Particularly we are going to be talking about the period from Piccolini period. So hi Glambox, good to see you. Particularly the period from 1 to 3 when children are just developing their language skills. Hi Diane, thanks for joining. But this approach actually can work throughout early childhood. So as I said in my post that you may have seen, was it this morning or yesterday? I can't remember when I posted about this. This topic about when our child hits or bites is something that I have experienced. This time 2 years ago, I was in this exact position. Harry was 22 months, so just before. Hi Kate, lovely to see you. How are you doing? Yeah, so 2 years ago, Harry was just coming up to 2 years old, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a biting and hitting stage popped up and literally bit me, caught me unawares, and I knew how to deal with it because I'd seen it in the classroom, I'd experienced it before, I know the reasons, I knew the reasons behind it, I knew the psychology behind it, I knew what was going on, but then shock horror, it was my child. And as any educator will tell you, something that could be perceived as bad behaviour coming from your own child as opposed to a child in your class is a very, very, very different kettle of fish. So yes, I have first-hand experience. I remember how stressful it was. I remember I remember dreading play dates. I can remember seeing other children approach and thinking, oh no, how is this going to turn out? And sort of staying really, really close, thinking, is he going to need my support? How tired is he? Is he hungry? All of those different things. So before we begin, I guess, the first thing I should say is it passes. In Harry's case, it must have started around mid-January, and then by April, we were fine. By April, it had passed. Still now, age almost 4, Harry is a very physical child. He clearly, one of his love languages is physical affection. He loves to connect. His way of greeting me or his big sister or his other friends is literally going in for a super, super snuggle. And that means knocking you to the ground. If I'm sitting on the floor and Harry will launch in for a cuddle, that means knocking me to the ground. That means his father's just joined, so yeah, that means knocking his father to the ground or giving him what's it called? Literally throttling us around the neck. That is Harry's way of connecting. And so if this is your child that is hitting or biting, that might be their way of connecting. So when they're older, we're going to work on redirecting that and redirecting that physicality and acknowledging that physicality without shaming. But now specifically in the toddler years, so between 1 and 3, let me explain why this is happening. Let me explain what we need to be doing, mainly in our hearts and our minds to support our child. And then lastly, we'll talk at practically in the heat of the moment, in those situations, what we can do to support them. So, excuse me, I'll just take a sip of water. And if you have any questions, please do jump in. So, the reason this is happening, the reason that our 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old is, the reason our 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old is hitting or biting is mainly for 2 reasons. One, they have undeveloped language skills. They cannot saunter over to a friend in the playground or on a play date or whatever the scenario is, or in the library when they're looking at a book and go, oh, excuse me, that looks interesting. Do you mind terribly if I borrow that toy? No, they don't have the language and they don't have the impulse control. They are like a magnet. They see a red car, a child playing with a red car in the sandpit, and the joy of a piccolini, the joy of a toddler, is that they are so focused on their task. And you'll notice this if they're mopping the floor or wiping the table or cleaning the window. They are so focused and have such intense concentration. And then the other side of that is if they want something, if they see something that they want, they will absolutely go for it, laser-like, like a rocket, and they absolutely want it now. This is not because they're spoiled or because they're a brat. They have poor impulse control. They literally see what they want. They're not capable of looking at the world from another perspective. That only comes much later. Age of 5, 6, 7, that's when perspective comes. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, I'll upload for sure. So your toddler, your piccolini, is not being a brat when they want something and they demand it or go over and try and snatch it or bite another child to get a toy. It is where they are now. It is their complete focus. They absolutely want it right now. They cannot control themselves. They can't, as I said before, they can't stroll up casually and say, you know, that looks jolly interesting, might I borrow that? They're not capable. All they know what to do is to go and grab the toy. They want it. Their neural pathways aren't sufficiently developed for them to wait. They can't wait, they can't take turns, they can't ask for it. They want it, so they just grab it. If the other child pulls, then what they will naturally do, they don't have a way of saying, no, I want it. So what will they do? They will push back at the child. They will hit them, probably unintentionally. They will hit them, they're pushing them. Literally, they just want that toy. They are focused on that toy. Or they might bite, or like in the case of Harry, you know, it was in the early stages of enriching environments. Well, not the early stages, maybe 4 or 6 months into enriching environments. And we were, each of the families in the group, we would rotate 1 week, and then the children would work in the different environment. And we all had our environment set up as an enriching environment with, of course, each family style. And so when Harry was in my friend Carla's environment, he would literally dash up to Carla's son, and he would, whatever Hani was working with, he would want to take it from him. He would bite him, he would hit him, and he didn't do that to the other children. It was literally in Carla's environment with her son. And we still to this day don't know what happened. He didn't do it in other environments, he didn't do it to other children, and he wasn't really doing it at home that much, but that was just what was happening for him for whatever reason at that time. And it was really, really, really tricky. And we just tried as much as possible to be as patient and comfort when things went wrong. But I'll come back to that. But so the reason they're doing it is poor impulse control, or not poor impulse control, undeveloped language skills and undeveloped impulse control. Those are the reasons that it happens. What we can do as parents is know that it's developmentally normal. So that already gives us such a huge lorry load of empathy. This is normal behaviour. This is normal behaviour for a lot of children. This is normal behaviour for probably 80% of piccolini. And when we've got that lorry load of empathy under our belt, we can see they are little people. They are learning. Shaming them, blaming them, shouting at them does not achieve what we want to achieve. Essentially, if we think about it logically, what we want to happen is we want our child to realise that they are hurting someone else. They are hurting someone else. Shouting at them or punishing them in any way does not teach empathy. Getting angry with them, and you know, no one's perfect. I'm not saying that I didn't get annoyed with Harry. I did, and I had this conversation with Carla actually earlier on this morning, that I did get annoyed with Harry. I found it very frustrating and very, very stressful. I'm not saying that I'm a perfect parent and I got it right, but I did know in my heart that it was something that he would work through, that it was something that all I could do was support him with and just try and stop when these things happened, and know that if I was supportive, if I was empathic, and if I could guide him in other directions to other toys and keep talking to him and reassuring him and keeping him calm, that it would pass. It felt like a storm at the time. It was a storm at the time, but I knew, I did trust in my heart that it would pass. So what we can do, that brings me to my next point, what we can do is we could see the innate goodness in our child. We can trust our child. This is our child's journey. It is really, really hard. It is really, really embarrassing when your child is the one in the playground. It's very, very distressing when another child is crying because your child has bitten them or hit them or taken their toy or whatever it is. I completely get it. I've been there. It is very, it's really, really distressing. And the reason for that distress is your child. So you naturally want to scold them or what have you. But actually what I'm asking you or inviting you is to offer empathy, to offer support. Everything about the Piccolini age group is about support and collaboration. Your child is not going to be able to move through this or get over this on their own. They don't have the brain capacity. They don't have the intellectual skills, social skills, emotional skills. Nothing is developed enough in their brain for them to be able to have the impulse control to stop this behavior. So this is our collaboration. And so what we can do is know that we need to stay really, really close. If your child is in this stage, we stay really, really close. In the playground, we're not going to be able, or on play dates, we're not going to be able to go and chat with the other parents. We're not going to be able to let them go on the jungle gym on their own. We're not going to be able to let them navigate the sandpit on their own. We're going to have a couple of months where we're going to need to be really, really close by to them. And with them in everything, and that allows us, actually, that's a real beautiful invitation for us to really observe our child, really, really get to know them, and through observing them in these situations, we're going to see quite clearly what happens just before they hit or bite or snatch. What are the, I don't want to say triggers because that sounds like a projection, but what is happening before that bit of aggression happens, that physical behavior, what is happening before that. So we're going to become so intuitive in this couple of months before this stage passes of what our child's needs are, where they are emotionally, just from their body language. This is a real opportunity to get to know our child really, really well. And I know it seems like a really, really upside down way of connecting with our child and getting to know them, but really, honestly, truly, and I've learned this so much, and I've only done 6 years of parenting, is that the connections are built with our children, developed with our children, and grown and created when things are difficult in stressful situations. It is not when we're lying on the grass looking at the clouds and hearing the birds singing. That is not when connection is made. Connection is made with our children, and bonds of trust and deep bonds of trust and safety are built with our child, are formed with our child, are linked with our child when things are difficult, when we are able to stand next to them or sit next to them or whatever it is, when things are difficult, when they're crying, when they're hitting, when they're rude, when they're behaving badly. That is how our lasting bond and connection is formed with our child. So this seems really, really far-fetched, and I know I've gone off on a tangent. This is a real opportunity to get to know our children when this happens. This is going to be a couple of months of being really, really close, being even more collaborative than we are usually. It's this is really, really hard to do, but they are not a problem. They are most likely not aggressive. They don't have an issue. They don't have any issues. It's where they are right now. And see their innate goodness, see that they're just little people struggling, they're little people trying to communicate, and they don't know how to. And so the only way they can do that is through their physical body language or aggression or whatever we want to call it. So see that innate goodness and stay really, really, really close, because that physical support, that means that you're going to be in arm's length, so that if they are going to hit or bite, you're going to be able to block, you're going to be able to stop. And that is actually the best support that we can give when this is in a really, really intense stage, because the talking and what have you isn't going to work. Just that physical calm presence of, I can't let you do that. I'm just going to block, I'm going to block your hand. I'm going to put my hand here. I can see you're frustrated, so I'm going to stop you from hitting, or whatever it might be. The right words will come to you, but it's very much a loving and supportive, not you're naughty, it's I'm going to block. And also it's really important in these situations, and I found this really helped with the situation that we had with enriching environments, is every time, and it helped us as adults as well as the children, show the empathy to the other children. So we would say, I'm gonna put my hand here to block you from hitting or biting. I know you don't want to hurt him. I know you don't want to do that. So we're seeing the innate goodness in our child. And then the other children in this scenario, the one also who's being hit, is seeing that we are having empathy for that child. We are going to comfort all the children in the situation. The child who has been hit or bitten is, of course, upset. They're upset, they're crying, it's probably extremely painful. And the child who is the hitter or the biter has lost control, and that's a very, very scary place for a little child to be in. So adding our anger to it or frustration to it isn't going to support in the scenario. When there's hitting or biting, both children need to be supported. Some of the things that work for me, let me go through some of the phrases that work for me. Where are we? Yeah, if you see something happen, if something happens and you get there after the event, and I still use this language with Olivia and Harry now. Olivia's 6 and Harry's almost 4. I still use this language now. I can see you're upset. I'm sorry I wasn't close enough to support you both. Or I can see you're upset. I'm sorry I wasn't close enough to keep you safe. Something like that. Again, you're offering empathy, you're offering support. You're not blaming whatever happened. You can see that someone's upset. We don't know what happened beforehand, so let's just offer support. Sometimes just being there with our calm presence, coming in with our calm presence, and that just calms everything down and allows both children the release. Both children are going to need to be supported. Both children are going to need to cuddle. One child, if they're being bitten or hit, may need some first aid, and then it's an opportunity for us to role model how we make amends. We don't make them apologize, of course. That's really, really important to say. I didn't have that on my list of bullet points, but I should say that it's really, really important. We do not make the hitter or the biter apologize. 1, it shames them. 2, it's totally, totally meaningless. That is more for the adults in the scenario rather than the children in the scenario. They will repeat whatever we want them to repeat. If we say sorry, actually, it depends on your child. They may or may not say sorry, but it doesn't mean anything to them. A little child doesn't know what that means anyway. That's just for our ego rather than anything else. So don't worry about the sorries. And also, I can hear some people saying, but how are they going to learn? How are they going to know they can't do that? If you don't teach them a lesson, how are they going to learn? The way our children learn is through connection. Our connection with them, our empathy with them, our building our relationship with our child, this is how they learn. They learn how to be kind-hearted and compassionate and empathic human beings from the way that we treat them. And we don't need to teach them lessons. We don't need to punish them. We don't need to put them on the naughty step or the timeout or all these other things, or tell them to calm down or anything like that. All we need to do is just be there for support when we need them. There isn't any lesson that needs to be taught here. All of the things that happen throughout childhood, particularly early childhood, will naturally resolve themselves, because so many of the little bumps in the road are just because of developmental leaps that are happening, or developmental leaps that are about to happen, developmental stages. This hitting, biting is a phase and it passes, and it's no reflection on our parenting. The only thing that which reflects on our parenting is how we respond to this behaviour. If we can respond with compassion and empathy and support for all children in the scenario, that's what our children will absorb. That's what our children will absorb, so that when they will unconsciously absorb that, okay, later in life, when I've got into trouble, when I've done something wrong, I can ask for support, I can ask for help. Someone is going to be here to support me rather than shame me. And wouldn't that be so powerful, that it's actually okay to make a mistake? That such a powerful message for our children to know that we are all going to make mistakes and we are going to hurt each other's feelings sometimes, but we're going to be supported through that. Shaming us or blaming us or getting angry, it doesn't teach. It teaches a lesson, but not the one that we want to be taught. The one we want to be taught is we can get through anything together. We're going to support each other. We're going to collaborate together. And that, I believe, is how we make a more peaceful and harmonious and joyful world, by more collaboration. And this may sound far-fetched, but this really, really does happen in the early years. It all begins in the early years. The brain is formed in the first 6 to 7 years of life. This is all unconscious learning that takes place in the early years. And these are the building blocks to the adult that this child will become. So this is why this is so important. And excuse me, I'm just going to have a drop more water. Another thing that we can say in the heat of the moment when there is hitting and biting happening, as I mentioned before, we need to block hands. We need to stop it from happening, because what often happens is that if a child's already out of control and they want a toy, or they're feeling frustrated or overstimulated in the environment, whatever it is, it's not that they're hitting to hurt or what have you, but they won't be able to stop. Very often they will bite, or they will hit once, and then they will need to carry on doing it, and they might go and bite another child or hit another child. And that's really, really when they're out of control. They've lost control of their nervous system. They can't emotionally regulate because they're a tiny little person. That's when we need to step in as soon as we can. As soon as we see, we're going to block with our hands. We're going to say, I can't let you hit or bite. I can't let you take that toy. Let's move away over here so I can support you better, so I can help you, so I can see you, so I can understand what you need. Something like that. I can't let you hit, that's going to hurt. Let's move away. And you're going to need to pick up your child. This is not a scenario where it's appropriate to give a choice or anything like that. They're already out of control. This is when we really need a firm and loving parental coat on or hat on or boots on or whatever it is. It's literally, we are, for want of a better word, we're really rescuing our child in that situation. They are in a situation, they are out of control. We're going to stay calm. We're going to say, I'm going to support you, let's move away. And then you're going to lift them up and you're going to remove them from the situation. I mean, I'm not saying go to a different room. I'm saying literally just a few meters away, so that you can hold them. You can help them calm down. You can, then the other child can be cuddled or whatever the other child needs as well. But it's really very much in a calm way. There's no panic. There's no need to shout. It's just stop the behaviour. If it's something which is going on and on with the same child for in the same scenario, like it was with Harry and my best friend's son, then what I did is I just removed Harry from that session at Carla's house for I think it was hosted in other houses, and the problem didn't occur other places, but I think it was maybe 2 or 3 sessions in Carla's house. So for a couple of weeks that he didn't that Harry didn't go, because that he wasn't managing in that scenario. Maybe 2 or 3 sessions. I can't remember exactly, but I knew that because it wasn't working in that scenario, the best thing for both children was for him not to attend at that time. And that seemed to, just work itself out. After a couple of months, it was fine. But if you do have a scenario that your child isn't managing in a particular situation, yes, we can look at why it's happening, but sometimes we don't know. Carla and I talked about it, and we didn't know what the reason was, and actually it didn't matter. It just wasn't working for the two children. So remove Harry from the situation, and it was, and then it worked his way out. And the benefit of that is that Harry then had one-on-one time with me at home, and then when it was, I think it was the April here, so I think he came out for February and March, and then April he started attending again at Harney's house, and by then it had worked itself out. So in the end, it all worked itself out. Let me see what else, what other phrases. Things like, you could also say something that works really well for me still with Olivia and Harry is, I can see this isn't working for you both. Let's find a different way. And Olivia and Harry are a bit older, so I still block and I say, I can't let you hit each other. I can see this isn't working. Let's find another way. And I've been using, please bear in mind, I've been using this language with them for years and years. So this isn't like a quick fix solution. If you have a scenario where there's fighting and hurting each other, with siblings or friends, it does take time for this new language to come in, and just this offer of support that we're giving, and then our children will trust that we are going to step in and we're going to collaborate and we're going to support. We're not fixing anything. We are stopping them from hurting each other. That's really, really important with little children, because as I mentioned earlier, they can't, because of the impulse control, they often can't stop themselves. And then we don't want it to become a habitual behavior as a way of releasing tension, because that release of tension will happen if they hit or bite, but we don't want that to become then like a compulsion. We want to stop it as soon as it happens, but we can stop it in a firm and loving way. And we don't need to do it in an angry way or scolding them. So, does anyone have any questions whilst I have a sip of water? And then we can do a recap. And I'll see in my original post, I think we've touched on everything in the original post. So, to recap what we've said, hitting and biting in young children is normal. It happens a lot at this age due to the undeveloped impulse control and undeveloped language skills. They don't have the ability to explain that they want something. When they want something, when they see something, they want it, and they want it absolutely now. Our support in this scenario is crucial, and that's support in terms of empathy, that's support in terms of being able to have the leadership to actually step in and say, I can't let you do that, in a firm and loving way, and then block hands as needed, or teeth as needed to. We can role model empathy for all of the children involved, or at the playground, or wherever it is, by saying, I'm gonna block your hands. I know you don't want to hurt your friend, or whatever it is. I know you don't want to hurt him. And then you verbalize exactly what's going on. I can see you're really upset. Let's find another way. I can see you're really frustrated. You both want to play with that toy at the same time. I can see you're really upset. I can't let you hit him. Let's move over here, and where I can better support you. Or if it's already happened and you've got there too late, you can say, I'm sorry I wasn't close enough to support you. Now let's find a quiet spot and we can calm down together, or whatever the language is that you're going to use. But it's very much this sense of empathy, of collaborating with them. You're not shaming or blaming them. It's very, very stressful. As I said at the beginning, I was there for 3 months, and it was 3 stressful months, but it did pass. And with our support in these situations, and we are gradually building empathy and compassion, by showing empathy and compassion to our children, they will be internalizing that. They will internalize this feeling that, okay, when things go wrong for me, someone is going to support me. When things are going wrong for me, I'm not going to be rejected. I'm not going to be shamed. I'm not going to be blamed. They are understanding on a deep level, a cellular level, because this is the unconscious mind in the first 6 years of life. This is all unconscious learning. So if they can learn in early childhood that someone is going to support them, no matter what, essentially, how powerful is that? What a powerful, powerful message of support that is for them. Hi, Diane. He tests boundaries by, so Diane's question is, or comment is, my son tests boundaries by repeating, hitting mama, and then hits me. He will only stop when I shout no at him. What else can I do? Okay, so you can, so what I would say is, it sounds as if it's just become a compulsion for him. It's compulsive behavior that now he's not able to stop because it's just a habit. So you can, firstly, the first thing is to help him not do it anymore. So you can put your hands in front like this, and you can say, I'm going to block your hands. I can't let you hit me, or I won't let you hit me, whatever feels right. I remember with Olivia, she went through a small hitting stage rather than biting when she was about, she must have been about 2.5. And saying, I can't let you hit me, made her more enraged. But then I changed it to, I won't let you hit me. That seemed to work for her. So try, I can't let you hit me. Try, I won't let you hit me. And then just put your hands there to block, so he can't. So if he is making contact, he's making contact with your palms as it is. So do it like that. So physically stop the hitting, and then, as I said before, the empathy is, I can see you're really frustrated, or you seem to be frustrated. What can I do to support you? And I know he's little, and I know it sounds far-fetched that this is going to work. And if he's laughing in this scenario, it's not because he thinks it's funny. It's not because he wants to hurt you. It's because he's learnt that a reaction happens. What happens, and I've seen this with Harry when I've overreacted, is that then they unconsciously seek the same extreme response. So times where I've shouted, unconsciously in that stage where I'm trying to win his trust back, he will keep pushing and pushing and pushing till he gets that response again. And they understand unconsciously that if they behave in a certain way, then we're going to react in a certain way. And what's also really powerful for them is like, wow, this person who's so big and seems to know so much, is in control of my life, can get so annoyed by me. On an unconscious level, they're like, wow, I can elicit such a strong reaction. And that's when it comes in a habit. And maybe this is what's happened for you. You don't want him, and sorry, Diane's second comment is, I don't want him to make amends by asking him for a kiss, as I don't think it's healthy in the long run. Absolutely. No, you don't do anything like that. If you're in a scenario where you never ever ask your child to make amends for you, or to give you a kiss or a cuddle, or say sorry mama, or anything like that. In a classroom environment, for example, what we do in Montessori is that making amends would be, that child is upset, she seems upset, shall we get her a tissue and a drink of water? That's what we mean by making amends. It's not any type of apology, or as you say, affection or anything like that. So with your son, I'd say block and say, I can't let you hit me, I won't let you hit me. That's the first thing. And every time, just that very clear, short sentence. And then maybe you need to step away for a moment. You're not leaving the room or anything. You step away for a moment just so he can't hit you. And it's, you seem to be frustrated. What can I do to help you? What can I do to support you? and over time. And can you give this consistent response every day for the next 2 weeks and then see what's happening differently? He's growing up in a bilingual household, isn't he? And sometimes if there is the language comes in a little bit later when there's more than one language in the home, and that's amazing, by the way. I'm not saying that multilingualism is bad. Multilingualism is amazing and it should be encouraged. But if the language skills come in a tiny bit later, then that could be something which is causing a frustration as well. He can't really express himself clearly. So it's just this empathy, just what can I do to support you? This doesn't seem like it's working for you. It seems like what you said, hitting mama and sort of repeating it and then carrying on. Maybe he sees it as a game, as you said no and shouted, then it becomes like a compulsion, and it's breaking that habit actually now, in being really, really consistent, in a consistent supportive way rather than the shouting no. Because the problem is, and I've seen it with Harry and Olivia because I've made that mistake, that once we get into the shouting of no or whatever it is, as the older they get, bearing in mind Olivia is 6 and almost 4 now, the shouting needs to become louder that you do. The words you say need to become more scary, and your behaviour has to become more scary to get them to listen to you. Do you see what I mean? So actually it's horrible. It's really, really horrible. In the same way that more praise we give, the more we need to give in order to get our children to behave better. The same happens with punishments or scolding. Like, we need to become more scary in order to get our message across, and that is not at all what we want to do. So I would say in this instance, try to step back from the whole hang in there, Diane. Try to step back from the saying no. Know that this has become a habit for him, and know that it will pass, and keep that element of support. I can see this isn't working for you. You seem frustrated, you seem upset. What can we do differently? And try that collaboration. It's completely normal for him to do this. It's developmentally normal. It will pass in its own time. We can facilitate it passing by our consistent support, but it's not anything that you're doing wrong. It's not a reflection on you. All we can do is respond in a consistent and firm and loving way so that we can stop their behaviour and they get a chance to come back in their body. When we start speaking calmly to them by saying, what is it that you really want? Or I can see you're frustrated. We're not expecting them to give us a coherent answer. I mean, Harry can, he's almost 4, and of course Olivia can because she's 6. That's not going to happen for your son for a couple of years. What we're doing in that time, when we're speaking calmly, saying this isn't working for you, I can see you're frustrated, I can see you're upset. What can I do? What can I do to support you? What can I do to help you out here? What can I get you that you need? We're just offering that calmness, that presence to them. We're not expecting like a full explanation from them, and they're not going to be able to give it anyway, but it's more that calm collaboration that we're offering, which gives them a chance to really come back in their bodies. Remember, when they're hitting and they've got that compulsion of hitting or biting, whatever it is, and Harry did it for a long time with our cat, and it was crazy, but it's become that habit. So it's just being really, really close to collaborate to help them come away from that behaviour, come away from that behaviour. It takes time. I hope that helps. Does anyone have any questions? Kate, you've come back in. Do you have any questions? Are you here with Isaac in this stage, or has this stage passed him by? I suppose he's still little, isn't he? He's probably not at this stage yet. If anyone has any other questions, please do let me know. Let me just check on my bullet points. Pleasure, Diane. I hope it helps. Let me know how you get on. Just send me a DM and let me know how you get on. If he's sort of addicted to the habits, and as you said, he now only stops when you shout no, it's going to take a couple of weeks to come back from that. Okay, so just know that it will take a couple of weeks. Yeah, Kate. Kate's comment reads, my husband and I are quite loud generally, and I find sometimes speaking very calmly and super quiet, almost as a whisper, seems to get through to little Isaac more than anything, which is calming me. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Kate. And actually in the classroom, that's how we speak to the children as well. We really, really whisper, because then they have to really, really get close to us to be able to hear what we're saying. And then actually in the older classroom, they'll ask each other to be quiet because they can't hear what's being said. And then if that then draws children closer to us, then you're more likely to be able to establish a connection, because if we're loud and shouting across the room or saying something in a loud voice across the room, then there isn't a connection. Whereas if we get down to their level and we whisper, then they have to come close, and we can kind of draw them into our energetic field, as it were, and then that's how another connection's made. Thank you so much for your comment. Thank you everyone for joining. I am going to Kate says, sometimes I feel like a little good angel on his shoulder. Yeah, that's exactly what we are. But sometimes with the devil as well, okay, and that's okay. You know, we do get it wrong. We're not going to get this right every time. And as I said, you know, I didn't get it right always with Harry, and I still don't get it right now. I got annoyed with him just before bedtime, before I came on to this. You know, we're human, and we're not going to get it right the whole time. And there's different stages of challenging behaviour and different stages of their development. And we're all learning as we go along. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to pop this on my feed either this evening or tomorrow morning. Next week, we are looking at the 5 love languages for children. This is from a great book by, it's gone out of my head, Gary Chapman. That's right, isn't it? The 5 love languages. The original book was the 5 love languages. He then wrote one, the 5 love languages for children. And I wanted to talk about this because this has, I've always known about them, and I learned about them, you know, in the classroom and several years ago, but I've really have suddenly gone really deep on this just in the past couple of weeks, month, with Olivia and Harry, and it's so incredible the difference it has made in our interactions at home. And we've been at home a lot recently, of course, all of us have in the past year, and they haven't been in school and their community and what have you as much as any of us would have liked. So we've really, well, I've had to really look at my different styles and the different things I learned in my training, and I've learned in the classroom and learned since, and the love languages is something that's really, really clicked for me recently. So if you have children who are a bit older, this is absolutely golden for you. From about 4 or 5 onwards, you can really start to identify love languages. I look forward to seeing you all then next week. In the meantime, you can check out my online Enriching Environments course. Go to my link in bio and there's my shop. I host workshops, I do family programs, and I have my online course. That is all at enrichingenvironments.com. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Have a beautiful week. Take care and wear your mask. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.